Welcome to Analyst Hour on the ASL podcast. As you know, I'm Andrew Regan, accompanied by my ex-commissioner, good friend, and fellow analyst.
Honored to be here. I'm Michael J. Goldsmith, co-founder of the Andover Streetball League and former commissioner. And I'm honored to be here, honored to get this started. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
So our goal here is to kind of just do this every week, and kind of just break down, give you something to listen to, and hopefully just understand the league a bit more. So I guess like the pressing matter we should probably discuss, Mike, is the implication to this season. This is our sixth season of the ASL of the fourth year. It's the biggest league we've had. We have 32 active players, not including our revolving substitute roster. And I would argue this is definitely the most competitive. We have a very high caliber staff of captains, as well as the highest caliber of draft Ds we've had. And I think what we might be fortunate to get a undisputed ASL GOAT, the greatest of all time, for this season. Coming into this season, I feel like you could make a case for the obvious Stephen Shaw. You can make a case for the obvious Colin Kirkpatrick. You can make the case for Ian. You can make the case for Ryan. I mean, those are four guys who have been.
You even argue Connor.
I was gonna say I think Connor is my dark horse. I argue that obviously if Steven wins again, ASL GOAT. If Colin wins again, ASL GOAT. If Ian wins again, ASL GOAT. And if Ryan wins again, ASL GOAT. If you have two rings, to me it's just over with. You beat everyone else. However, if we have a first-time champ in Connor, he has a very good case for being the ASL GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, because he has quietly collected the most regular season awards for all the elite players. I mean, he's the only player with MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. So just a ring and a Finals MVP, that's pretty hard to argue against. And especially the most competitive season yet. I mean, 8 teams, that's 2 more teams we ever had. 32 players, that's 8 more players than we ever had. So winning this ring might just complete his resume alone without even having that second ring. But again, I think something you have to consider too, and if you're going to make the regular season award argument, is that we didn't do regular season awards during the, I believe it was our second year, the 2018 Summer League. And are there arguably Ryan could have been MVP, arguably Arvin could have been Defensive Player of the Year. So there's just that's a whole season that also should be taken into consideration.
Yes, I completely agree with you. But if we are going to, I think it's fair to acknowledge that regular season awards have been by far the most inconsistent aspect of ASL, and All-Stars. However, the year that Connor won MVP, we had no Steven or Colin, right?
Was that the fall league or no? Was that
the fall league? He won it in the summer, and I think he won the year Dad Bods won.
Yeah, because okay.
And that had no Steven or no Colin. So I guess that hurts Ryan and Ian because those 2 ASL All-Stars competed in that same year and had that same chance to score the MVP. You can't hold it against Colin or Steven, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also Connor was in the fall league. Like there was also Ian's been in every single league. So if we're gonna do it based on who's completed the seasons and who's won the rings, it's clear right now it's got to be Stephen Shaw. I mean, because he is the one completed season, 1 ring. So
yes.
If we're gonna completely just, because I get what you're saying, but I feel like it's also unfair to cut out. And I know that they had probably stuff to do that they couldn't play for the league, but I feel like it's unfair to the players that have been there since season 1 to kind of disregard those rings because the the better players weren't there, or not the new elite players.
Oh, no. I'm not disregarding the rings, but if we're going to talk about weight of rings,
well, you can't argue that this season weighs more than most seasons
this season weighs absolutely more. I think
it's been the best season.
It's been the best season. It has the most talent. This ring weighs the most. This isn't the NBA where, it's the same amount of teams, relatively the same players. It always fluctuates. So you do kind of have to put weight on rings, especially if a lot of guys only have one. Last season, Stephen Shaw got a clean sweep. I think that's the only clean sweep we've seen that we've included regular season awards. The guy won MVP, Finals MVP, and he has a ring. Colin, his ring probably is the second most heavy, and then Ryan, and then Ian, and that's no disrespect to Ryan or Ian at all. But I think it would be false to acknowledge their two rings as the same weight as the other two, simply just because the skill base was a lot worse.
Yeah. I guess I can't. That's a very fair point. Yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, I can't really argue with you there. But
I think
with the lower skill base, it definitely matters. I don't know, it matters less, but it definitely holds less weight, I guess is the way to put it. I mean,
I think this season we could get. There's a good shot we'll get an ASL GOAT. Like I said, whether it be the first four guys I mentioned who repeat, meaning Steven, Colin, Ian, Ryan. However, I think the only player active right now who could only win one ring and skip the ladder would be Connor Fu.
Yeah, I guess is this his fifth season too? No, this is his fourth season. He's been fourth season, but he started in the fall league, which a lot of people forget. So he's been here for 4 years, not just the last 3 summers. The fall league was a league that was a smaller league. Not many players were in there. So, and he showed up, and he was the best player in that league. I don't remember when it up happening.
No,
I know
it had to have been Neil. Had to have been Neil.
Neil. Oh, that's that's fair. That's okay. That's.
True. I don't know if we did MVP, but it was if we were, it was probably Neil.
Yeah, I forget who won MVP, but yeah, that's fair.
Now I guess it's fair to segue. We'll increase our zoom in on this season. I'd love to hear as an analyst, from an analyst perspective, not from Swarm fourth man Michael Goldsmith's perspective. I would love to hear the biggest letdowns, a team or player that shocked you the most. We'll start with that. What aspect of this season surprised you the most in terms of the competition?
In terms of the competition, well, I think one thing that surprised me is that the captains, aside from Stephen Shaw before his injury, have looked very mortal and have really depended more on their role players to actually step up and not just set screens and get rebounds. Role players have to play a key role in the scoring. I mean, you look at the Honey Badgers, James is the number one option. You look at even the Swarm, the Nick Zelanskis at times has been the number one option. You look at the Mateys, Matt Schuerk has been the number one option at times. You guys, Arvin was the number one option in your games. And I feel like, and in terms of just the biggest surprise in the change of the game, I haven't got to let them, but just the change of the game is that it's not just because if you remember the first summer league, it was Colin's going to shoot 100 shots, Steve Shaw's it was just all captain Emmett. And now it's more just, I love how the league is more dependent on every single one who's in it. And of course, the 21 per point rule that makes it more fourth man inclusive, which is great.
You can completely objectively here. I think I agree. I think the really cool thing, I love watching a captain experience. How do I properly phrase this? I guess Steven, just because Steven is a perfect victim. When you draft on draft night, you have to draft accordingly. So there's going to be times where the captain can't make it, or unfortunately the captain gets injured. And I remember when you and I played together on the dad bods, Schuerk or Cadigan both agreed that because they couldn't pick a date to play, they were just going to let their 3 draftees play it out. I love watching captains look to their players and kind of going hands off. And that really gives the draftees a time to shine, but also shows the league and the captain who they're playing for. This is who you drafted. Because like you said, the captains do look a lot more mortal. Like you could have put, let's rewind a few seasons when Colin won on Inferno.
Scored all 15 points in our second game of the season or something.
All love to Sarong, all love to you, all love to Arvin, all love to Luke.
Wow, yeah.
It didn't matter who was out there beside Colin. It could have been 2 fourth graders. He was winning that game. He was winning that championship. And obviously it's because it's so competitive this year, and because the league has gotten so much more balanced and deep, they have not rely, but are forced to utilize. And whether it be, we'll talk about Stephen or Colin, they have to pass out to their wing to take that shot, when any other season they're able to get open and create that shot themselves. So that's been really great. I think that's a good point. I guess an aspect of this year's competition that has shocked me the most were probably the first 3 weeks of the season. Stags obliterating the Super Pandas week 1 was dynamite. The Stampede falling to 0-3, yet having very high championship odds going into the season and having an A+ draft grade, that was shocking. And I guess the Honey Badgers' slow start, we'll call it, has been very, very shocking to me. If we're gonna, I guess we'll break each down. The Stags are a very talented team. Connor Fu, who you're just regarding as like could be an ASL GOAT, is obviously, in my opinion, he's underrated considering this season he was voted biggest fall off, and here he is. Every shot up, every time he puts up a shot, you think to yourself, oh crap, this has an incredible chance of going in, regardless of where he is on the floor. And alongside Sam Holland, they played together before. They have good chemistry. And I think a very good thing about that duo is they both are capable of scoring. They both are capable of defending. They both know where they are on the court at any given time. They know where one another are. They're on the same page. And they're both incredible rebounders. And that adds up. So with them jumping 2-0 in the beginning, I thought that was incredible, beating the Super Pandas and the Swarm. Now let's get to the Stampede really quick. A rookie captain in Nick Silva, a rookie player in Cole, and then 2 veterans in Dan Gerges and Kostas Anzopoulos. Very talented team. That team has size, defense, and offense. They have a trifecta right there. And starting off to 0-3, that was crazy. I don't think anyone could have saw that coming. And then the Honey Badger slow start. We already talked about James, but Nick, who is a rookie captain, but you can't expect him to play like a rookie. He's a freak of an athlete. I know he's playing football right now. He obviously played basketball in high school, and that stuff just doesn't go away. And James, an ASL veteran who has his automatic mid-range. And then Will O'Neill, who is a rookie player, but he's an athletic, scrappy guy, and that definitely helps that team. And then Destroy Troy, who obviously also is an ASL vet. Them falling to, in terms of, I guess I'll call it week 4 now, 1-3. I don't think anyone could have saw coming either.
No, and I hate to do that because I know Nick Resendez is an ASL rookie, and I don't want to. This isn't a full criticism of him being a bad player, but he just hasn't been a great player. And if you're a captain, you come in with the expectation of being a great player. He's been a good player, but they need a great player because Will O'Neill, he's came out to a great start too. He's played his role, but his role is a facilitator. He's not going to put up 10 points a game. James, this is probably James's best season since the first. James has been here this is James's 5th season. It's probably the second best season he's played besides the inaugural ASL season. And I really feel if Nick can just drain his shots, be more aggressive, I don't know what it is, but if he can just become a truly captain level player, I could see them accomplishing great things. But I think it's easy to say the captain is the X factor, but he really is. Like if you just if he's just a captain level player, that's a really scary team. So
yeah, absolutely. And I guess we'll talk in terms of now, Stags being 2-2, Stampede being 1-3. And then I already mentioned the Honey Badgers also being 1-3. But I want to talk about the Stampede specifically, because despite them being 1-3, I think you can't count them out. They have yet to have a fully staffed Sunday. And I always say it, the best ability is availability. If you show up every week and you have 4 guys every week there ready to play, you're going to see results. And I feel as though you can't fairly evaluate the Stampede until you see a fully staffed Sunday.
Well, yeah, I mean, when the Stampede came to the season as favorites, it's because you're not making the odds based on like hypotheticals, who's going to be there when. You're just saying on paper which is the best team, and on paper they really good. They have the deepest team on paper with on all 4 of them there. I don't know about the best, but it's one of the best complete lineups, and you can't really judge them because you haven't seen all 4 of them together, and you've seen some great injury. Dan showed out one game and he was great on offense. Costa, he dropped double digits last game. So if they just had all of it, you could really analyze them. But that's also the risk that the rookie captain Nick Silva took with taking 2 players that have been known for. Well, I guess Dan was.
Oh, I'm going to defend Dan. I have zero memory of Dan being a flake ever. I think Dan has.
Yeah, I guess this is Dan's first season with availability issues, but you kind of like Costa, you're getting into. He's a great player, but you don't know if he's going to show up.
Yeah, that's a high risk, high reward.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, and I think, let's be real. That's probably why Costa fell in the draft.
Yes.
Costa is a great player. He could be a stone cold killer on offense when he's out there. But what value does it add to a team if he's there, 2 out of the 7 regular season games, 3 out of the regular season games? But even then, again, with Costa out, Dan is such a good option. Dan was a 3rd round pick, are definitely the most talented in the 3rd round. They have a very full form team. We know Nick Silva can take over a game. Cole has been locked like a glass. What's the 2K build? Glass cleaning lockdown.
Yeah.
And they have 2 incredible scorers. And Dan Gerges, like it or not, is, in my opinion, a top 5 shooter in the league.
The league as a whole.
The league as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean,
right now
is that we've
played 1 game, but he's well above the ASL average efficiency mark. So it's definitely an argument you can make. Even in the I know you weren't at the Father's Day tournament, but he was draining his threes there too. So yeah, I can see that.
And usually, in terms of ASL, we kind of assess a player based off volume, not really efficiency. And I think that has helped a lot of players, but I guess on the contrary, it hurts. And I want to talk about Ian Chowdhury for a second. I've never heard I've never heard someone refer to Ian Chowdhury as a shooter. Because he doesn't shoot that often. However, I think if we were to go back and take stats from every single game, he is the most efficient 3-point shooter. For some reason, we applaud the kid who shoots 3 for 17 more than the kid who shoots 2 for 2. And I think Ian has consistently, in terms of 3-point, has been that guy who shoots 2 for 2, 2 for 3. And he's never gets a spotlight as a 3-point shooter. Everyone applauds him for his incredible inside game. No one applauds Ian for his shooting because he simply he does it silently, and he doesn't really shoot in volume. And I really believe his 2 for 2s or his 2 for 3 games beyond the arc help his team so much more than people give him credit for.
I agree with you. The fact that his shooting helps his team a lot more. Like, him shooting efficiency from 3 is great, helps his team a lot more. But I don't think it's fair to judge him as a top shooter because just because he's shooting the smartest shots doesn't necessarily mean he's the best shooter. The best shooter is one who can hit the most difficult shots the most consistently.
That's the best shooter, the guy who can hit the most difficult shots.
Well, the guy who can hit it, not the guy who can hit the. I mean, I don't. If if you're like, think about like Steph Curry versus Seth Curry, right? I know this isn't the NBA, but Steph is obviously considered the better 3-point shooter, even though his 3-point percentage is like 3 below Seth, because he's actually going out, creating his own shot, moving off the ball, all that stuff. When Seth is just sitting there in the corner, and not that, I mean, what Ian's doing is great. It's not really, this isn't a dig at Ian. It's more just, I think that you have to consider like Connor Foos probably has a lower 3-point percentage than Ian, but because of the shots that he's taking and that the consistency that they're going in, I feel like you can't say that Ian's a better shooter than Connor Fu.
I mean, I can't say Ian's a better shooter than Connor Fu, but in terms of when you're talking about the Steph and Seth like analogy, Steph Curry, yes, hits the crazy shots, but he also shoots a lot more. And this isn't a timed game with no score limit. This in ASL, it's to 21 points this season.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to start the whole NBA ASL thing. That was just an analogy.
Ian is an extremely efficient 3-point shooter. If he can go 2 for 2, he can go 5 for 5. I'm not saying he will go 5 for 5, but the kid does not miss a lot beyond the arc. And we all know he loves his top of the key, very deep 3-point shot where he has a lot of space. That is a difficult shot. He's not really doing it off the dribble, but who's to say he can't? Ian is a guy who has a very versatile offensive game, but is only regarded as a slasher. I think he is the most efficient 3-point shooter in the league. Is he the most talented 3-point shooter? That's a different conversation. If we want to talk about the most talented 3-point shooter, that's when you bring in your Connor Fu, Stephen Shaw, Colin Kirkpatrick's, and even Dan Gerges. But Ian's efficiency beyond the arc is slept on season after season. And I think if you want to talk about overall best, so you could do your most efficient, your most talented, most athletic 3-point shooters, the best, we're going to go overall, the whole pie. I think it's not fair to exclude Ian Chowdhury from that conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. He should be on the conversation. Like, you can't penalize a man for having a smart shot selection. But yeah. I don't know if you should be ahead of someone because he's more efficient than them. But I was just using Connor for an example. But I think that I don't think if he should be ahead of him because of his efficiency necessarily. When you take everything into account. But I agree. I agree. You can throw him in the conversation.
Shots off one foot.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen it.
A team we haven't really acknowledged yet would be Pegasus. That's a team that also had a very, very slow start, being 0-2. They're at the bottom of the division, and now they're on a 2-game win streak. For those who are listening and need reference, the Pegasus is captain Alex Pisacreta, rookie captain, Carter Brzezinski, Sean Bradshaw, and Owen Bollinger. Mike, I'd love to hear your take on the Pegasus as a whole.
I mean, yeah, they've been really scary the past few weeks. Like, you'd watch the first few games and you'd just see Alex doing these like double contested layups and Carter getting all the rebounds and all that. And you would just like, why does this team not have a good record? Like, it's all finally clicking for them. And if depending on Steve's ankle, we don't know how he's going to recover, but I think they're definitely, they could be the favorite to come out of the West if they keep playing like this. I mean, their only weakness is shooting, really. That's the one thing, is if you crowd the paint. I mean, Alex can shoot, but he's not one of the better shooters as a captain. Sean can't really shoot. Carter's not known for his shooting. Owen's not known for his shooting. So that's really all they're missing. But I'm very high on the Pegasus based on how they played all season, even when they were losing games.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a very, very good perspective into Pegasus. I think the great thing about Pegasus is Alex Pisacreta's competitive edge. That's a guy who, ever since he played in the ASL, he plays every game with grit. He wants to win. He lets you know he wants to win. And he certainly has the talent and has built a good enough team around him to help him do so. Shooting, I would say, is their only flaw. I think that's very fair. I've seen Carter hit a few threes. Sean hit a few threes. I don't think I've ever seen Owen take a shot beyond the arc, but everyone can hit a 3 in the ASL, given enough attempts. And obviously, I'm sure Alex can hit a 3. Do you think that lack of 3-point shooting will come back to bite them?
I mean, it depends. Like our team's willing to really crowd the paint in an ASL game. You don't see that happen, but if there's one instant, it's this team because like not just because of the lack of shooting, but also you have Carter Brzezinski and Alex is the best slasher in the league in my opinion. So I don't know. I mean, it really I think if the team's got to smarten up, it's in the Western Conference, but I don't know. Also, Alex can shoot, and and anyone can bank in a three at some point. I mean. I don't know. It's tough, but yeah.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. Personally, I could see the shooting lead to their downfall. I don't think it would be their downfall. Because no one's really going shot for shot beyond the arc in the ASL. Now, I guess let's shift the view into end of season awards. Let's hear your most improved opinions. And if we're going to we got to be very objective. And do you think, actually, no, screw the objectivity. Michael Goldsmith, take off the analyst cap, put on the swarm cap. Where do you think you fall in the ladder now? After last outing, you've had 2 good outings and 2, I wouldn't call them bad. One bad.
I would say I had one bad outing, and last time you could kind of neutral. I mean, I didn't get many minutes, and that's no one's fault. That just Ryan and Nick were just going off. That's no one's fault for not getting many minutes. But my stock's taking a hit. There's no question about that. I don't think you could take me off the table. I mean, I scored 9 points last season, and I think I passed that in the first 2 weeks of the season. So I'm not really saying I've been excellent, but just because of how terrible I was last season, I think that should go into the equation a little bit. But there's definitely better candidates out there.
All right, perfect. Now take off your swarm hat, yeah. Put on the analyst hat. Yeah. If the season ended today, who are you casting your vote to be the most improved player?
The most improved player. I mean, I don't know. Like the thing is I want to say Sam because of how good he's been on defense, but his offense has been relatively the same. So I don't know. God, I mean, yeah,
What names are you weighing? Think out loud. What names are you weighing?
Honestly, right now, I'm thinking Sam. I'm thinking Ian. I mean, there's been a lot of rookies that are playing well. I'm thinking AJ, obviously, and I think AJ's actually moved. I didn't even consider AJ enough at first, but I think AJ's
my dark horse. AJ was my dark horse.
I think, yeah, Ian might have surpassed me, but also the thing is Ian wasn't terrible last year like I was. That's the only difference.
Ian is in my opinion, I'll take off my analyst hat. I'll put on the Super Pandas. I think Ian is the best role player in the league. Is he the most?
Well, but there's an award for that as 4th man. But you got that's
no, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even say that. Like I've never seen anyone embody, embrace, and deliver on their role more than Ian this season. He comes off the bench in short spurts. He'll give myself or Arvin, give us some rest. Ian will come out and he'll take his 3. He'll bank and go in. But I think he does a great job. He understands the game a lot better this year. Even if you watch him, he's not touching that ball. He has done a great job navigating the court, his overall ball awareness, his game awareness, and it's showing off because he's A, been scoring more, and B, more efficiently. I'm going to take off the Super Pandas hat and I'll put back on the analyst. Yeah, I think if you want to go most improved difference from this season, difference from last season, the difference between this season and last season, it's my opinion, it's Connor Fu or AJ Clark.
I was going to say, I completely forgot about Connor Fu. I think he would actually be because I'll throw it out there. I was one of the people who listed him as the biggest fall off. And that almost shouldn't be seen as like a complete dig at him because he was just so lights out 2 seasons ago or whatever it was, and then just his shots just weren't falling last season. So I just wouldn't pull those out. I threw it out there, but I think the shots are falling again, and that's really all it takes for Connor to go from.
They're doing more than falling.
That's what it takes for Connor to. That's what it takes for him to go from a good player to a great player. Because even when the shots aren't falling, he's playing good defense. He's a ball handler. He's a facilitator. But his main source of scoring is the shots, so he needs them to be falling for him to be a great player. And he's taking that stack back up.
So if the season were to end today, you're casting your vote for
Connor almost. I would say Connor.
I'm battling between Connor or AJ. AJ, like Ian, in my opinion, is another guy who fills his role perfectly. And you take him off of that team, the team's a very, very, very different team. They play different. The whole system changes. So
he allows Steven to be what he is, just
100%. Both Pat and AJ.
Sorry, just to add to that, this is why Steven wasn't doing this all last regular season for a reason. Like not just because those teammates, he's a great player, but those teammates just make him that much better. So
I think, Pat and AJ fuel the flame that is Steven Shaw. They do a great job. But let's do full circle. Now that Steven's out and they have Rang, shout out Rang for stepping up.
Yeah.
We applaud you.
Some of the year, great replacement. Some of the year doing some of the year things.
They lack that offensive output. And that's where a captain's going to have to sit back and is kind of helpless and say, holy crap, I'm now going to have to watch this team that I drafted. And it kind of removes the curtain. It removes the mask. We really see 3/4 of the funky monkeys now. And that 1/4 that's gone is a lot. So
this is the best player in the league. So yeah,
really the best player in the league. So I mean, this is going to be big. A lot of people are going to have to prove themselves. I think they're going to, even though Rang is the replacement, it's fair to set your sights on Pat Archambault because he's the point guard, he's the facilitator, and this is like AJ, his second year playing with the league. So it'd be really cool to watch him step up and dictate some plays. And if we're gonna be real, they have to win one more game. They need to win one more game
to make the playoffs, or get a bye
to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Steven will probably be back, even though he's out indefinitely. I don't think he's just gonna sit idly by. I don't. I think Steven will come in when they either in the playoffs or when their back's up against the wall, whether that be in the regular season or the playoffs. So let's say they just win one game and they make it to the playoffs. Stevens will probably be back, and it doesn't matter whether they have that bye or not. Stevens back.
Well, it also depends on how his ankle feels. That's a whole nother element, is how mobile is he? How does the ankle feel? How hard does he want to go on that ankle? Like that's a whole nother debate.
I would still argue that an injured Steven Shaw is a top tier captain.
Yeah, top tier. Yeah.
As long as he can walk and dribble, I think he's enough. So we definitely got to look into that. I think we covered everything. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we're pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it this long, this is the ASL Analyst Hour on the ASL podcast. All right. Thank you guys. Enjoy.
Thanks for tuning in.